wanted to do a quick video to talk about pruning. Now, I know there's a lot of information about pruning out there, but I wanted to simplify it for the new gardeners that maybe are a little bit overwhelmed by all the information. It's not going to be like the best way to take care of your plant, but sometimes I feel like when you're just learning to garden, all you gotta do is do it, and you might end up, with not necessarily the results that you want, but at least you're learning. So I just want to encourage people to go ahead and do some pruning if you feel like your plant needs it, and then just see what the results get you. But wanted to, again, talk about it a little bit to give you some really simple guidelines to follow. All right, so the first plant I wanted to talk about was this salt bush. So as you guys can see, it's quite overgrown. It's massive. It's overgrew its space. It's grown bigger than what the tag said it was going to grow. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes, our tags say that it's going to be a certain size, and when the plant is really happy, it doesn't listen to that tag. It does what it wants to do. So I am going to prune it. This plant, I know that can take a lot of pruning pretty easily. Ideally, so if I go by the textbook rules, I would be pruning it in the spring. And the reason why it says that is just because it flowers. So if you have any plants that will have spring flowers, there's a big chance that if you prune in the fall, like I'm about to do, you will lose those flowers, or most of them, because you're cutting off the stems where the flower will grow on. So just know that that's a sacrifice that I'm choosing to do just because I feel like this plant is just way too big, and I want to get it going with bringing this size down, because it's continuously growing. Every time I come here, I feel like it's bigger. Little rule when you're pruning that you'll hear a lot is that you should always prune where there's a leaf node. Like right here, you see if I would cut here, there's a stem here where more growth is coming from. So that's where you would want to prune. With this guy, it's so large and it takes pruning so easily. I don't have to worry so much about that because I know it's gonna grow back just fine. But that's, if you're worried about it, that's one thing that when you're going to make a cut, you can look for where leaves are coming out of. Oh my gosh, guys. I can't believe it. There's actually still, I had planted a salvia plant, so you can see, I think that was in spring last year, where there was a lot of space between the sage, the white sage, and the salt bush, and they've completely overgrown it, so I'm probably gonna be moving this guy somewhere else. I thought it was dead. He hasn't gotten a lot of sunlight, but well, plants are really, really resilient. There's even a milkweed growing back here. Kind of crazy that it grew there because it was completely shaded. I am almost through. And oh my gosh, guys, I don't think I video when I planted this. This is a California poppy. It has some really beautiful white flowers. And when I almost didn't buy it at the store, but I really wanted it because it grows all over San Diego and it's so beautiful. But the only plants they had looked not very healthy, to say the least. It was just one strand and it didn't look good, but I thought, I really want this plant, I'll give it a go. So I put it here, and now, holy moly. I just can't say enough how like gardening with native plants and putting them at the right spot just is so beneficial, and it just makes gardening so much easier because the plants want to grow there. So with very little effort, they just thrive. All right, all done, guys. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Such a drastic difference. And again, I will have sacrificed the blooms. I might get some on the top because, as you can see, I didn't cut the top. This plant has exceeded the size was supposed to go in terms of the width, but the height is supposed to be like over 5 feet tall. So almost as tall as me. That's why I didn't cut the top, because I do want it to get taller. And by cutting the width, I'm hoping to encourage the tall growth versus the side growth. Hopefully that works, fingers crossed. But yeah, so happy with the progress so far. I think the area looks much, much better. The second plant I wanted to talk to you guys about is this white light aster that's right down here. This one, I want to prune now because I feel like it's just not pleasant to look at. Every time I look at it, I'm like, ah. So there's no real reason why I'm pruning it. And ideally, with most plants, it's better to prune in the spring. So you'll find that resource a lot. So as a good rule of thumb, if you can make yourself wait, prune in the spring. I'm going against that advice now because I just want it to be more pleasant to look at, and because I don't have any winter here in California. We don't have snow that fall on the ground. We don't have frost. So the main reason why it's better to prune in the spring is because you're protecting your plants. So this extra leaf, these extra stems, they're all offering protection for when the snowfall, it doesn't sit at the crown of the root and then can cause root rot or just extra frost. So just keep in mind, if you are pruning, if you are in some place that has winter and you can't wait till the spring, if you do prune, maybe mulch over the pruned plants, so that way you're offering it that extra protection. Last plant I'm going to prune today is this salvia. Now this salvia, again, the reason why I'm pruning it is because when I look at the bottom here, I can see that there's fresh new growth. So I want to remove the leggy stem again because I don't like looking at it that way. I just don't think it's very pleasant to the eye, and allow for those fresh new shoots to have more sunlight, more air, and then they will then grow and be a more condensed plant and more pleasing to the eye. Another reason why a lot of people will say that it's better to prune in the spring versus the fall is because of insect life. So especially if you're in a place that has cold winters, you want a place for the insects to go and overwinter and hide from predators. So you might damage the insect life if you're pruning everything in the fall. If you do prune in the fall, a good idea is to leave the branches just on the ground near the plant, not taking them away. But I know that for some people that's not always aesthetically pleasing, but if you can, to at least leave something for those little guys to hide in and live in. I wanted to bring you guys over here real quick to show you this plant. So I'm not going to prune down everything. I like this plant, for example, I am leaving here because one, I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous, and it has nice seed heads that can be food for the birds during the colder seasons. So this one I am leaving. And it also smells really nice. It's a sage. I'm sitting next to it right now. I'm like, I wish I could share that with you guys through the camera. And then I also wanted to add a few other tips about pruning. So far, all I've basically said is it's better to do it in the spring. And that's the main general rule. If you do it in the spring, you're giving your plant the best shot. The number one thing that I would avoid is to do it in the summer. So when the hottest part of the month, because then you might have a lot of damage because of the sun damage from the leaves, the lower leaves that haven't been exposed to a lot of sunlight, being exposed to extreme amount of sunlight. Another thing to consider is if you're pruning in the fall instead of the spring,
Again, going back on what I said with the frost damage that you might get. So maybe don't prune as low as you normally would. So make sure that you're not going so deep that you might be affecting the crown of the plant, and then that can spread disease, infections, and then you go through and kill your plant.
So basically, if you know that you're pruning at a time that is not ideal, aka not the spring, leave a little bit more than you normally would. And lastly, I wanted to talk about these petals that you guys are seeing everywhere. So this part is not tidbits about pruning, but it's just general plant health. So there's this tree that is leaving all these petals, and they're all over the plants. And the instinct would be to take them off, especially that it's not aesthetically pleasing to have all these petals everywhere. Just keep in mind that there's a reason why your plant captures things like leaves and petals that fall on it, and that's to gather nutrients. So these petals are full of goodies for your plant to use. So the petals or the leaf will fall on your plant, and then it'll stay there and it'll dry out like this, and eventually it'll be small enough that it'll fall to the ground around your plant where the roots are and where they can absorb all the nutrient that the plant matter can provide. So if you do want to take it out, because it's not aesthetically pleasing to have it on your plant, just if you think that it's pretty enough, try to just put it around your plant, not just taking it away and putting it somewhere else. And that way the plant is still getting those nutrients. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you felt inspired to prune something, or learned a little something, or just enjoy the video. But regardless, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.